Hello, everybody, and we're back for another episode of Ghost Experiences. I know that you guys thoroughly enjoyed the last episode, which was Grandparents' Murder House. Um, I was reading all your guys' comments in the live section of the premiere of the video, and I'm so glad that you guys were able to come and actually enjoy that. I know Daniel and I both sat and watched your guys' comments come in as I was running up and down the hall going, Daniel, you need to get on here and say something. You need to hop on here
No,
right
I'm
now.
like looking at you. I'm just like, I'm playing with the baby.
I know you had your hands full, and I was
Literally, my hands were full.
No, I know, with like
Baby.
a 20-pound baby.
Correction. He's a 20 and a half pound baby.
Okay, you might want to get a little closer.
It's 20 and a half.
Okay.
20.5. It's like tossing around a sack of potatoes.
Okay, regardless, he's heavy. He's a whole lot of baby.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. He's a whole lot of baby.
He's almost
Sorry
like
about
half a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So also, just so you know, yes, if you call the phone number on the screen for those that are out there on YouTube or here on Facebook Live, that number connects directly to my phone. You are able to directly connect to my assistant. You do not have to give your name or any type of personal information. You can do it completely anonymously. And with that being said, you can give suggestions for any future podcast, or if you would like to set up an appointment to talk about your own ghost experience, I would be more than glad to take and set up that with you. Okay, so Daniel, you had made mention something about your experience with a shadow man, and I am interested to hear about this experience, given you know how I feel about all this stuff. So what is your experience with a shadow man?
Well, when this happened, it was like with my ex. Okay, it was the first time. The first time that I went over to their house, they literally told me about it. Apparently, in their house over in the hallway, every now and then, it's the figure of it's like a shadow figure of a man that's usually over in the hallway. And even like his younger siblings, which were like about like I think like 6 and probably like 5 or something like that, they were really young. They've even like come into contact with this thing and they've cried and everything. So when they see this shadow man, they run.
So the children have felt it.
The children have even seen the shadow man.
So did you have a personal experience with it?
Yes.
And
yes,
okay, so
because I didn't believe it when I first got there. I mean, I was kind of skeptical because at the time it's just like, I don't believe this. You don't believe it until it actually does happen to you.
So what you're saying is that this would have been your first experience with something paranormal.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so please explain your first paranormal experience, because I think I remember a little bit about what you told me about this, and my inner wife was very, I wouldn't say insecure. I was just very like...
No, she was very angry.
I was very angry, yes, because you don't touch what's mine. Continue.
But it's not yours way back in the day.
I know that, but you know, I just... take a shadow man, put him in a bottle, shake him up every day.
No. Because I think like even like my ex was saying like they've seen this thing every now and then, and even like his parents have seen this thing. So it's something that's actually inside their house. Okay. So it's not just, oh, hey, we're just making this up just to like kind of like freak you out.
Right.
No, this is an actual thing that's actually living in our house.
Like in your house.
In our house. We try to stay away from it. but it
How do
makes
you
it.
stay away from a shadow man?
It's like as soon as you see it, you go the other way.
You go the other way.
Yeah, you try not to like
I think
acknowledge it. You're just like,
I think if you see something that is a black humanoid figure, your instinctual being is to go away. I don't think your instinct is to go towards it.
no. It was like it's like the presence of it
Mm-hmm.
makes you uneasy.
Right.
So it's one of those.
Okay, so
type of things.
what was your experience with it?
So it was one of the days that I had been over at my ex's like house. Okay, I was over in their room, and at one point they had told me that they were going to go take a shower, and I was just like, okay.
Mhm.
So laying there, I had closed my eyes. It's just like, okay, I'm gonna just relax, whatever. So I heard the shower going, eyes still closed.
Mhm.
And then out of nowhere at one point, it's like you feel an invisible hand going up the inside of your leg, like
So
up the thigh. And it's just like not really snapping about it
right.
until it actually does. And it's just like, wait a second. I hear the shower. They left. And immediately my eyes popped open and nobody was in the room.
So this is something that does commonly happen. If you pay attention to anything online, especially, any other, people that look for paranormal activity are going to places and doing ghost investigations, they will have experiences of being physically like attacked, groped, or inappropriately touched in ways.
I left the room after that.
Well, yeah.
I went automatically over to the restroom. I was just like, I am not doing this.
Yeah.
I am done. Well, that was like the first one. The second one, okay, that one was even creepier than like the first one. Because I told you about like that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So like when that happened, it was like when I was younger still, in my early 20s. And I was kind of like couch surfing, so I was also staying at a friend's house at the time. His name was Mario.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like Mario. Sorry.
Yeah, they're Native American with the name Mario, so hey.
I have no comment. I have no place to comment. I
Yeah.
thought that the name Mario was just like Mario. Like anyways, continue.
Yeah, no. Like, so it was like, it was at night. I mean, earlier in the day, I kind of like, earlier in the evening, I had fallen asleep on the couch. And it was just like our couch here. It was a sectional.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking it was like around like in the middle of the night, probably like 1-2 o'clock in the morning. I kind of like woke up. I woke up, so I was like half awake, half asleep. And like looking over, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, comes like two arms, just roughly like it would be like a baby like, around the age of like our kid.
Which is like 7 months.
Yeah, about like 8-9 months, like around that time. Okay, so it's just like these two like small infant arms coming out of nowhere over where like the coffee table was. So it's like looking over, it's about the height of our coffee table.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like slowly reaching up and the hands are moving.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly they go downwards. And at the time, my friend had a sister who also had a baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like around like toddler age, like about like 1 or 2.
And of course, no baby's just going to be in the middle of a room.
No, because like you're half awake, half asleep. It doesn't like these things don't actually snap into your mind.
Right.
So it's like at that point, it's just like, wait, nobody's out here. Everything's off, like all the lights are off and everything. So it's like kind of like getting up to try to like look over, because I was just like, I am so confused why this child is out at this time. Like, go and look. Nothing there. Nothing there. And I'm just like, and I'm done. I literally went back to my corner, and I just pulled the sheets over my head.
Rightfully so. I would have done the same thing.
Because it's like when you're a kid, like you always hear like if anything goes wrong, anything scares you, just pull the covers over. They can't get you. And I'm just like, I'm going back to my childhood.
Pull your covers over, whatever.
And I'm gonna pull my blanket over. Maybe it'll just leave me alone.
Right.
I'm just like, I mean, all of this happening, and then also, as we were kind of like talking about what happened in like the apartment that I had moved into over in California,
which is a little bit of like your experience and also my experience at the same time. Like I mean, about the second time around that like I had gone out to California to spend time with you. You picked me up from the airport and then you dropped me off at your apartment and then you went to work. And, in your apartment, did you break something?
No, I didn't break something.
Are you sure?
The chair went off the rug.
Oh.
Just continue.
Okay. So, I'm sitting at your apartment and, lo and behold, I'm sitting there in your living room, and then there's your bedroom door, here's the kitchen, and then, there's the hallway, and then it turns, and then it goes into the bathroom. And I'm sitting there, and I'm watching something on your TV, and what I see out of the corner of my eye is like a tiny, what appears to be like a, 3.5 foot tall, white, almost like shadowy figure coming and popping its head out around from the corner of the hallway, that it turns into the bathroom. And my initial thought was, oh, hell no. I'm in the middle of a state. I don't know where I'm at. This is the second time meeting this person that I am currently in a relationship with and hanging out with them. And I come to find out that their apartment is haunted. Shit. And
yeah, it totally kind of like went off my mind. I mean, like, even when I first moved into that apartment, like, it was the feeling, and it's one of those feelings where it's just like, I feel like I should actually close my doors.
Yeah.
And I have never done that throughout my whole entire life. Like, wherever I've lived, I don't shut the door.
Right.
But this time around, it's like the eerie feeling that I should, for some reason. Something is telling me that I should be closing my doors.
Close the doors. I'm trying to move stuff around before my tablet dies on me, because if it does, then we can kiss the rest of the cameras goodbye. Oh my gosh, I'm hitting the microphone and everything all at the same time. Pretty sure you guys are watching my antics while I'm trying to move stuff around.
They're called shenanigans.
Shenanigans, Anakin, one or the other. Did a light just go out, or am I just... No, a light didn't go out. Okay, I'm just losing it.
It's like, it's considered tomfoolery.
One or the other. Come on, charge. Thank you.
Yeah, so it was like moving in there and then having that feeling, and like that feeling didn't actually really settle in until it was kind of like around the evening. All of a sudden you get that feeling. So after like moving in and getting those feelings, like it was like kind of like the usual thing where when you get the feeling, it's like, well, I'm closing all the doors at this point.
Well, my thought is like, whenever I had just gone there, like, I just remember thinking to myself, like, there's this shadow figure or white mist of like a child. It could be like one of three things, right? It could be a lost spirit, or it could be a mimic, or it could be a demonic entity that is pretending to be a child. And I wanted no part of that.
Yeah, no, like I told you, I'm just like, yeah, no, I had a talk with like my mom, and I told her what was going on, And what she said, she's like, well, it sounds like it could be kind of like an imp or like a house elf or something like that that's just in your house. And I was just like, that's nice.
Right. Well, that's nice to know that I have
I have
something
something in my
else.
house.
Yeah.
But the thing about it that made it so weird was like, this was like after kind of like going through like my divorce and everything and just having this apartment now. And it was like, as soon as my kid would be over there, like all of a sudden things started feeling off. Like, and then after she would leave, it's like I would have to sage, cleanse my house and everything. And then it went back to feeling like how it was. Now, mind you, also, like when things would happen, like things that like my ex would do that would make me furious, frustrated, or anything like that. All
Oh
of a
yeah,
sudden,
we both know how that goes, and we already know that Ashton will be watching this later on, so we can't really say much.
no, I'm just saying, like, it was like after that, like at a certain point after having these incidents and stuff like that, it would be all of a sudden just like scratches, and they would come in a set of 3 just randomly
Yeah.
on my body.
Well, that's because you had
And you were trying to tell me like, well,
Oh, I wasn't
it's
trying. I was. You
yeah,
had
you
an
were like,
attachment.
you have an attachment, and I was just like, all right.
No, you had an attachment because your apartment had something in it, which we know that it did, because when you moved out, you found documents for a request for a birth certificate.
No, it was like it was a folder, and it had paperwork and everything in it. And one of the things that was in there, part of the paperwork, was it's like when after you have your kid, they give you kind of like that birth certificate kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a
with
request
the
form.
yeah, and it has like the feet prints and stuff on it.
Yeah.
So lo and behold, when it came to like me having to move out and having to clean out my apartment and everything, I find these things actually kind of like hidden away because they were all the way it's like in the kitchen part where like the drawers were.
Yep.
So it was kind of just in there, and I'm just like,
yeah. No, because I was in Oklahoma at the time while you were moving your stuff, and I remember you had called me. I think you sent me pictures of it as well. But like I was
I
sitting
did.
I was sitting there and I was like looking at it and I was like, what the heck? And then I was like, oh well, I guess that explains, the child that's in your apartment because
Yeah, stuck in my apartment.
yeah, stuck in your apartment. And which made me wonder
no.
like
And that thing, I'm thinking that thing actually fed off of like the negative that would come into the house, because I know like I was having to deal with a lot of negative stuff. Our kid, like my kid, was also having to deal with a lot as well. So it's like having all that just come into the apartment, and then it's like things get moved around. It's just like, I know for a fact that that wasn't there before. Why is it over here? Or things went missing. It was like playing hide and go seek.
Yeah. Well, and that's also too, like you have to think about it is like if you did have like, it can be speculated or it can be theorized, but at the same time, it can be a theory, right? Is that we don't necessarily know what the entity's intentions or what the entity for sure was. If it was an actual lost, spirit, or if it was just a mimic, or if it was something demonic.
Yeah, no,
The only time I felt anything negative in your apartment was when your ex was there. That was about it.
Yeah, so it was just like, it's like this thing that was inside my apartment was like one of those kind of like, hey, I'm going to get enjoyment out of like freaking you out. Like, I'm going to make it to where like
Mhm.
I get my giggles out of this.
Well, and that's childlike behavior. So, I mean, it would be different. My only thought was is like as far as the attachment is that you can think of it as kind of like an egregore. So, an egregore is something that is the collective belief. So, if you had a lot of people, example like yourself, including others that you were talking to about your situation, and there was a collective belief that the individual that you were dealing with was causing emotional and physical damage, or well, emotional and mental damage, to your estate, to you, then it
Yeah,
could
because
explain a physical attachment that was causing physical harm.
every single time things got like the feeling was off, like it wasn't like my apartment didn't feel right anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like I tried telling it like it needed to leave. It's not welcomed over in my apartment because
Right.
I'm not dealing with that. Like,
Well, and we talked about this last night too. There's more than one way to remove
yeah,
things from
no,
your
and that
house.
was also another reason why I had everything that I had, which was like my talismans,
Mm-hmm.
my the bells, the witch bells over on my door and everything.
Yeah. Well,
I had the whole entire thing, which is why as soon as I had to do the cleansing with my door open, then all of a sudden things felt okay. It
yeah.
wasn't until like my kid would come back and all of a sudden after a certain amount of time, then it was like a perpetual cycle of like
Mm-hmm.
what was going on.
Well, and you have to think too, is that like when it comes down to it, like I was just saying, is that there's example, you can't remove like if there's something
Well,
you can't remove. Okay, let me explain. When you have something that's demonic that's inside your environment, you can't remove it by doing the same thing that you would by helping a spirit cross over. You also can't remove a spirit the same way that you would cast out something demonic and everything. It doesn't work the same way. With your situation, from an outsider's perspective looking in, what I was seeing during the time that I was coming and visiting was one, your ex was bringing a whole lot of negative energy in because he had negative intentions and everything. We all know if you're pagan, your intentions are highly important towards anything that you do.
mhm.
Now, as far as the spirit that was inside your house, I don't think that it was necessarily demonic. I believe that it was most likely something that was there that has been there for a very, very long time and is most likely just messing with you. As far as your attachment, that is probably a whole nother thing because if that was happening, I think I had asked you at one point. I said, "Were you experiencing physical like marks or bruises or scratches prior to moving into your apartment or after moving into your apartment?" And I don't particularly remember what you
No, it
had
was
said.
after like
So it was
moving out of
after
the
you had moved into
yeah,
that apartment.
yeah.
Because here's the thing, just like any person out there that does any type of paranormal investigation, they use the exact same things that any type of person, like private investigators, attorneys, or etc. do, which is when, where, and how, and why.
Mm,
You look at your entire situation, you look at your environment, you look at the people that you're around, and you try to get a general idea of when things started, why they started, and then you go from there. So I don't think now, as far as like with Ashton, I think what it was is that, again, negative intentions
mm,
can impair other people. It can, because it's the same thing when you look at example the Christian belief, right?
mm,
Foul language, or basically curse words, are considered curses. There is a thing called generational curses.
mm,
So when you look at an individual that may cause you irritation or mental distress or etc., and you have ill will or ill intention, even if you're not physically saying it, that is still energy. You're
mm.
still projecting that. These are conversations that me and Mandy have all the time. So with your situation, I mean, as far as like the spirit that we were seeing inside your apartment, yeah, it's terrifying because one, you're seeing something that in your brain you physically cannot understand why it's there. until you think about the possibility that it's there, mainly because it just is. Because any ghost like people that do any investigations and stuff, they have equipment to test for energy signals, and all different kinds of things, because it's the manipulation of energy.
Yeah, and then also one of the times, like when you like had told me about that, do you remember what happened after that?
No.
Me messing with the lights and stuff.
Yes, no, I
Which freaks you
remember.
out even more.
Yeah, no, and I remember that because I was sitting there and I was watching the TV, and your light, which was a Wi-Fi connected light bulb, which I did not realize that that's what it was, because just as well as I know, I have echoes literally all through the house, and everything
Yeah,
is
no,
Wi-Fi.
mine was Google.
Yeah, yours was Google, and I'm pro Apple everything. And so when I'm sitting there and it goes from white to red and everything, my first instinct was, okay, well, maybe he has it set on a schedule. But yeah, it did freak me out because at that time and moment I was dealing with, a shadow figure at that point.
See, I didn't even actually know that until like I came into my apartment and you told me what was going on.
Yeah. So it was just literally the coincidence that you were just like, oh, well, I'm going to mess with her and see what happens. Why I'm inside already dealing with something physically staring at me from at the end of the hallway,
Yeah, and it
So,
was the weirdest thing because that thing like just stuck inside the hallway, which is another reason why I was just like,
yeah.
close the bathroom door, close my door.
Yep.
Good. We're
Yep.
all good.
Nope, exactly. That's the reason why
Yeah, no, and even at one point, like, that's when I went and I was just like, let's see if this will actually get rid of it. And it was, but the intense, like, it's like a voodoo.
yeah.
It's a voodoo cleanser. It's for when you can't get something out. And it needs to go.
Yeah.
So it's like spraying that stuff around, and then for a good while, I would have nothing happening in my apartment, and then I'm guessing at a certain point, once it like weared down, then stuff would start happening again, especially after like it was like kid coming over. Negative. There's only so much negative my apartment can intake before something happens. It was one of those things, and I'm just like, I would like for this to end at this point.
Well, and I mean, eventually it did, because I mean, you
No, it like the only way that it ended was like when I actually moved out. Like after I moved out and I had moved over here, that's when like the scratches stopped.
Yep.
And I wasn't like really having to deal with a whole lot of negative like emotions.
Well, and my thought is like whenever you first came over here, I was still actively going through my court case, and I had spent a lot of time studying a lot of things about, as far as like, the whole demonology, Catholic, Christian, Buddhism, etc., trying to understand a whole spectrum of things. Because one, I was bored. I'm working at that time. I'm not doing YouTube. I'm not doing podcasts. I'm not doing videos. I'm not doing anything. And I'm just working and paying legal fees and then going back and forth to court. That's basically what's happening. So there's not really much else, for me to do other than that. Well, we had some serious technical difficulties in the middle of recording. You'll probably notice that the screens have probably jumped. So I I forgot to save the video file directly to an SD card instead of my tablet, and as a result, it ran out of storage. So we ran into some issues. So we are at 29 minutes and 44 seconds. So Daniel, the last thing that you had mentioned was that you had you had mentioned that you had said something to your mom.
Yeah, no, I told my mom about like what was going on, and she also saw how my apartment was set up.
Yeah.
And that's when she had revealed family history about, like, in our family, we did actually have old Wiccan in our family line.
Yeah.
So it was just like, oh no, it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes plenty of sense. Okay. Well, other than that, I hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode with Daniel and his stories of his ghost experiences. I do have a couple of individuals lined up and everything to talk about more of their experiences as well. Also, if you've made it to the end of this video, which I hope that you have, I have a small little makeup tutorial that's getting ready to come out, which will be the first one in a little over 7 years that I've done in a while. So that right there should be interesting. It's just something cute. You guys have been begging for something makeup related here recently, so I'm gonna put that together and release it out for you guys. But other than that, if you are interested in listening to any of the podcasts anywhere else, you can find them literally on almost every single like podcast platform. Other than that, I will talk to you guys in the next one. Ta-ta!
Bye-bye.